And okay. Okay, so this is going to be a 4-part little series, and the title is Souls. That means us. We're made for love, and I really think that that the bhakti teachings, the philosophy that we have, is just the most beautiful thing imaginable, and we're going to try to demonstrate that in these 4 sessions, and because it's just a beautiful vision, and sometimes we get lost in the details, I think, that make us not appreciate that as much as we should. And so what we're going to do today for the first session, we're going to answer these 2 questions here pretty much. What does Krishna want, and why are we here? What's our part in this whole situation? And I'm going to start with Srila Prabhupada, our founder, of our organization, and this is back from a lecture that he gave in the very early days when he first came to America. He was in the Lower East Side in Manhattan, on 26 Second Avenue, and he used to have a little storefront, and he had a small little apartment behind, and they would have these public programs, and a couple 2 or 3 days a week, and so he was speaking to people who were brand new to the teachings of bhakti, and he said, and here's what he says. He says, "Now this means Krishna." Okay. Now he wanted to become many. That means Krishna. He wanted to become many, so he has become many, and we are that many. We as the individual people here. So we are not different from God. We are not different from God, but because he wanted to become many, so we have become many. Says, now the thing is, when God wanted to become many, there must be some purpose behind this. Otherwise, why did he like to become many? He was one without second, he says. So that's all right. But why did he become many? So that is a question. So one must like to put that. Why God became many? So that answer is that because God is Satchid Ananda Vigraha, and this means Sat is either eternity or existence, kind of eternal existence. Chid can be said to be consciousness, or just like that, and Ananda is blissfulness, and Vigraha is a form. So Krishna is the form, the eternal form of knowledge or consciousness and bliss. So he says that's why he does it. And then he goes on with this, the same lecture. He says, he's all pleasure. Krishna is all pleasure. Therefore, without many, he says, there is no pleasure. He says, just like here, I sit down the whole day alone, but I become more active and more pleasing when you come. Whenever we want to enjoy some pleasure, pleasure is not enjoyed alone. Pleasure is enjoyed with many. Now God is by nature, he's Anandamaya Vyasat, he's just filled with pleasure. So this is, he uses a little bit of, compares his own situation that he was there in his little place, and people would come 2 or 3 times a week. I don't remember exactly how many times. And so he says when people come to the program, he feels much more enlivened. He feels happier, become more active. And so the God becoming many is for, here it says, he also says here in his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, he says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead expanded himself into many for his ever-increasing spiritual bliss. And the living entities are parts and parcels of this spiritual bliss. Okay? So And then he goes on and he says, this is in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaking here, and Krishna says, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So he's saying that we, as individual souls, can be our kind of required, are integral and required for God's greatest happiness, for Krishna's greatest happiness. And when we look at this, we might get the wrong idea, right? Because here he says, I'm the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. And people who are wise, it says they serve me and worship me. Right? And so from our experience here in this world, we might get the idea of God as the big boss who's running the whole show, right? He said, I'm created everything. As we have that experience here in this world, where somebody is very powerful, has control of so many things. As Krishna is also said to be the supreme controller, then oftentimes they don't treat smaller beings very well. Right? We have a lot of tyranny in this world when people have great power and influence and stature. They don't treat the lesser beings very well at all. And so we may think that, okay, Krishna, he creates this whole world, he has beings in it, and he gets bliss because they serve him. Right? They're serving in some way, bringing something he needs, worrying about his pleasure. And so that doesn't necessarily sound particularly attractive, given what we've experienced here in this world. But Krishna is quite different. And so then we think he's not just the creator, but he still remains, in one way, he remains still one. So here it's in chapter 9, Krishna says, by me, in my unmanifested form, this entire universe is pervaded. All beings are in me, but I am not in them. And then he says, and yet everything that is created does not rest in me. Behold my mystic opulence. Although I am the maintainer of all living entities, and although I am everywhere, I am not part of this cosmic manifestation, for myself is the very source of creation. And he says, understand that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, all created beings are in me. And so if we look at this a little closer, so Krishna is everything. So we usually, if we imagine somebody creating something, that creation is somehow separated from them. If we build something, we build a house or something, that house is different from us. It has a separate existence from us. But Krishna, he's the source of all existence. And so when things come out and are created, they're still integrally part of him. He says he's fully conscious of all those things. So he's conscious of everything that's happening in all the different worlds that he's created, the spiritual and the material worlds. He's space and time. Right? So usually we have a being, they're within a larger world, within space, within time. But Krishna is also space and time. So he says everything is within me. And his consciousness has universal consciousness. It says he's within every atom, within every being. So he can be fully conscious of everything at the same time. And if he wanted to make everything different, almost as if you had somebody, you have something, a little three-dimensional model on your computer, you can change it. He could change everything. He could change himself. He could be somebody different. Says he can make multiple versions of himself, which he does. He could make everything different immediately, and try something else and try something else. So it's like his kind of being is like no other type of being that we could even dream about. So therefore, his kind of mode of being is different. He's different, so he has a different kind of psychology than we're used to understanding. And so that's part of, we got to deal with that. And so then Prabhupada, he explains a little further. He says, Krishna wants only loving service and nothing more. Krishna accepts even a little, this is Krishna, accepts even a little flower from his pure devotee. He does not want any kind of offering from a non-devotee. He is not in need of anything. This is the important part, from anyone, because he is self-sufficient. And yet he accepts the offering of his devotee in an exchange of love and affection. So Krishna is not needy. So he's not needy. He's not lacking anything. He's full and rich, but he's interesting in this love. And so a little further on, he says, well, so the situation here is the love part. And this is what we're going to come down to. That there's something that's better than having everything, than being everything, than being able to do everything. The one thing that Krishna finds that is the most valuable is to love and be loved. And that particular type of love is what's on the table. I think it's important that generally love is kind of a misunderstood. It's a confusing term because you have the kind of love that's needy, right? You love somebody, and at least a portion of that love is because they make you happy. So and hopefully if you make them happy, then you both can be happy, right? But their presence makes you happy. And that's kind of a need love. And so a good part of the equation is your happiness is engaged there. And of course, you know, you'll need to consider their happiness and their welfare and all that sort of thing in order for it to work. But there's oftentimes a fairly significant component of your happiness, and you want to be connected with them. But real love is an appreciation for the other, and you love them and you want them to be happy. And even if you're not connected with them, right? Sometimes we have a saying that says you love somebody enough to let them go. So if they don't want to be with you, you will still wish them to be happy. You see them as having value in themselves and not just as value for you. And it's because they inspire you in some way. You see great value in them. And so, you would usually would like to be with them, but if not, if you see that's not what's best for them, or it's not their desire, you're happy for them and you want to continue to provide happiness, or to contribute in any way that you can to their happiness. That's ultimately what's happening with Krishna. And we'll look at it a little bit more deeply. And the interesting thing is that Krishna doesn't wait for us. And there's an interesting here. This is a lecture that Srila Prabhupada gave in, and it's like this also was in New York. It's in 1966. So same place, 26 Second Avenue. And he says, God is always after me. As we have discussed many times, that he is sitting in the same tree in this heart. There's an image that's given in the Upanishads that the soul and Krishna in this form of the super soul, Paramatma, are sitting like two birds in a tree. And we're distracted by the world, the tree. It says eating the fruits of the tree, and the other one is just watching. The Paramatma God is just watching us. He says, I am sitting, and my friend God is also sitting. Super soul, eternally, wherever I am taking my transmigration. When I leave this body and enter into another body, oh, God also goes there just to see what I'm doing. When I shall turn my face towards him, he is simply waiting. And as soon as I turn my face towards God, oh, he says, my dear son, come on. Sacha mama priya. Lord says, oh, you are eternally dear to me. Now you are turning your face to me, so I am very glad. So the love is happening from God's side first. Here, Prabhupada is saying if someone is, they don't even, maybe not even think about God at all, think about Krishna at all. They're fully doing their own thing, life after life after life. And every time Krishna is there in the heart and just waiting. You are so dear to me. You are eternally dear to me. And so the reason why it works this way, right? Because if God could create us just to love him, if he wants love, right? He doesn't have to have us have to wait so long. But love has to be free for it to be real. Right? Krishna could make us, and he could make us just, we're born to love Krishna. But for love to be genuine, it has to be free. And so Krishna gives so many opportunities. We have all these different worlds we can explore and try. And he makes himself known in various ways, and otherwise he just stays there with us. We're not interested, but he never leaves us. So he says that you're eternally dear to me. So this is the really beautiful part. We oftentimes see images of God where God is a really kind of severe taskmaster. I'm the boss. You have to do this, 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 or else. Or maybe you have to really make the first move. Prove yourself to me in ordinary relationships. Right? We oftentimes have to prove ourselves to somebody else. Who do we find that just loves us eternally and immediately and for always, regardless of our actions? So this is a love that's not transactional. It's a love that's not transactional. We can be, religious and spiritual. We can be the opposite of that. We can be, we can be atheists. We could be hostile to the idea of God, and Krishna is still there. It doesn't bother you, right? But he's just waiting. Says, "Oh, now you are turning your face to me. I'm so very glad," and then be happy at that time. So right now, as we sit here, regardless of our circumstances and situation, we're dearly loved by this extraordinary being who's everything and then also a being, and whose only real desire is to be able to deepen the connection. That's what we have. That's the teaching we have. And what that does, I mean, we know that the power of love is healing and enlivening and makes beings grow. So right now, if we know it, it's not conditional, it's not transactional, it's just as real and continuous as it can get. This we use the word, causeless. We can be doing very good, we can be doing bad, we can be whatever we are, and there's nothing that can break it. And Krishna's been with us, we don't know how many lifetimes, sees us from the inside out, right? Knows all of the worst things we've ever thought, what to speak of what we've done, things we've thought about, and is faithful in that way. Let me see what we got here. And Prabhupada says here, this is also from his commentary on the Gita, he says, when a diamond is set in a golden ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified, and at the same time, the diamond is glorified. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter. And when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like gold. The Lord is a diamond, and so this combination is very nice. Living entities in a pure state are called devotees. The Supreme Lord becomes a devotee of his devotees. And so Krishna's love is the real love. His happiness is when it says that the individual souls are there to increase the Lord's happiness. It doesn't mean that they do things to make him happy. But his happiness is that same love. He wants to see us become happy. That's why he's with us. He wants us to be happy. And we want him to be happy. We want to come to the point where we do. Right now, we may not care anything for Krishna. May not even like the concept. But Krishna wants us to be happy. And so our idea is to move in the direction where then we can want Krishna to be happy. But that takes some softening of the heart. Right now our hearts are hard. Life in this world is tough. This says that his happiness is making us happy. And when we are in our best condition, our happiness will be making Krishna and everybody else happy. Love expands and radiates. This is the vision. And even more beautiful here, this is something from Jiva Goswami's Gopal Champu that kind of describes this. He says, as the cool moon, this is a description of the spiritual world. And he says, as the cool rays of the moon rejoice at the waxing phase of the moon, and the waxing phase rejoices at the cool rays, the people of Vrindavan, Vraja, rejoiced because of Krishna, and Krishna rejoiced because of them. As much as the people desired to satisfy Krishna, Krishna desired to satisfy them. There was no difference in this. And another boost from there says, in Goloka, Krishna playing the roles of son or friend in a suitable manner under the control of the devotees does not deviate from that love. By his mere thought, like a touchstone, all actions are accomplished. He is never free of repaying the amassed debt of the fifth goal, the wealth of prema. This is the divine love of all persons living there in bliss. And so the notion is that if we can become aware of Krishna's love and have some and develop some confidence in it, if we can begin to melt our hearts and begin to dabble in it, that we can develop this powerful sort of love that culminates in something called prema, where in this case, Krishna the beloved is beyond extraordinary. The word Krishna means all attractive. And so being able to create universes, spiritual and material universes, and create everything that exists and to be anything, then we can understand at least a little bit that we've seen so many beautiful and amazing things. So imagine the source of that and things far more beautiful, how wonderful Krishna must be. And so this is not just some more, any love is beautiful, but this is love from somebody who's the most special. And so when souls begin to, Prabhupada uses this example, he says, when the spark, sometimes you have a little pop and a spark comes out of a fire. He says the spark begins to kind of cool off and darken, but when you move the little, ember close to the fire again, it turns orange again, it brightens up. And so for us, when we can encounter Krishna more and more, when we can feel his presence more and more, through the various techniques of bhakti, then we naturally begin to come alive. This is a natural process. It's like waking up from a deep slumber. And the fact that Krishna exists, now it's a nice concept right now, maybe an intellectual concept. We may be able to grasp it or not. Sounds nice. But if we could have some greater encounter with Krishna, just Krishna's existence is enough to make us rejoice to a degree that we don't know is possible. If there can be a being like Krishna who is so wonderful and so loving, we would become transformed. There's the descriptions, dancing and having the hair stand on end and all kinds of different. When people have this elevated love of God, they awaken into such joy. And here it mentioned that there's Krishna feels indebted, right? Because for him, the love that the devotees have when they have that real love is like the most precious thing that can exist. It has to come freely, and it's more precious than anything else he could create. And so it says that is the description says it's Krishna Karshini. It attracts Krishna. It's like a magnetic force that draws him. And it makes him happy. And all he wants to do because of that then is to make them happy. Says he becomes the devotee of his devotees. And he feels like he's received something that he cannot repay. And the only way he can repay it is with the love of his own. And the devotees feel the same way, that someone as wonderful as Krishna loves them with his heart, so much of his heart. How can you repay that? How can you reciprocate that? How can you do something for Krishna? So the love becomes its own reward. And what's told is that it continually increases. That the devotees' loves increase and Krishna's love increases. It never stops. And so it's not a static situation, but it's a dynamic thing. It's something powerful that way, that continues to make Krishna come more alive, and it makes all the devotees come alive and be completely swept away. So this is the vision that we're made. So that's when the souls are made for love, but to be able to Krishna, if he's one, then this kind of love can't happen. See, there can be peace. A lot of times in spiritual practices, we're seeking peace. A lot of spiritual practitioners are looking at we know that the soul that we are by nature is peaceful. So the word is atmarama, self-satisfied, or prashanatma, fully satisfied. There's a deep abiding peace and contentment that comes with being a spiritual soul. And now, because we're focused on so many external things, we've forgotten and lost touch with that peace in so many ways. So many times in spiritual life, we're looking to recover that, that peace, that shanti, that satisfaction, that's just there. It's part of it. It's a way of being and not a circumstance. Generally in our lives, there's a lacking of peace, a lack of happiness, and happiness is an endeavor that you have to you find happiness. You need this, you need that, you have this activity or that activity. You search for happiness, and it continues on. Something gives you some enjoyment, and then you get tired of that, or that's over, and you have to keep going and going. So there's a deeply rooted feeling of emptiness in this dimension that we're living now. And so happiness is considered to be a way of acting or an endeavor rather than something that's your birthright. And oftentimes that's what we're looking for. And Krishna has that to begin with, right? When he's one, he has that full satisfaction. So beyond that is real love. So oftentimes now love in this dimension has a component of filling the empty spaces. But love that begins with the divine love, it starts with that. It comes from, it produces, when that love begins, it produces a complete satisfaction. You become radiant. And that's what we're hoping to achieve in bhakti. So we have this extraordinary being, Krishna, who's created everything, and then his real purpose, his reason for existing. He could be anything, or he could just be one. But his reason for existing is that he wants to experience this thing that never gets old, that remains dynamic, and that is completely absorbing, and it just radiates. It causes this joy that just radiates. I mean, sometimes right, we become very happy and just kind of it spreads a little bit. Well, in this case, it's the the beauty and of Krishna's love and the beauty of our love when we're in that connection is just not describable. It more than satisfies. It causes us to overflow, and it causes Krishna to overflow. It says he feels indebted, and we feel indebted. It's this deep thing. We feel like we're receiving so much more than we can give, and Krishna's feeling that he's receiving so much more than he can give. So this is what's possible for us as spiritual beings. We can, go beyond even finding peace and contentment, and we can find a way that brings us into this incredibly vibrant type of situation. So says that's why we're here. We're little parts of Krishna. He says we're anshas, little particles of Krishna. He says my little small parts. So we're made of the same substance. Right? And so just like he radiates love, we can radiate it. We're meant for that. So all the different other concepts that we have of a successful life really pale in comparison. So I know this is just kind of a theoretical thing. It's a little bit hard to grasp, but it's something that's extraordinary. And it's something that we can begin to connect with if we look at things in the right way. And so in the future sessions, we're going to try to look at where do you start with something like that, and what do you do to begin to develop some faith in it, to get some experience of it, to move along the road towards that beautiful conception. And when we have the kind of situation, we when we bring the other kind of more mundane concepts into our dealing with Krishna, dealing with God, oftentimes it really gets in the way. Right? We're thinking either that God demands our obedience, God demands us to act in a certain way. He is the boss, and we simply have to do what we're told. That hardens the heart. Or we think that we have to become perfect, right? That God's love is transactional and conditional. But we have so much evidence that Krishna's love is unconditional and not transactional. The variable is are we interested? And when we can start just with interest, we don't have to come in with love. We don't right now. We don't have it for him. We don't know him enough, and we've been suffering a long time in this world. Our hearts are damaged many times in so many ways. So Krishna, he's there even if we have no interest whatsoever. He's advertising himself though. He has the Bhagavad Gita. He comes in various ways and declares himself to be here, and he's there in the heart, just waiting for us. So he's always fully prepared. And so all we need to have is first is just a little interest. We think this sounds like a good thing. This sounds like an interesting concept. That right now, here and now, and all forever after, and in all in our whole past, we have the most wonderful being that could possibly exist that cares for us. He said, Krishna says in another place, he's a Suhridam. He's the one who's wishing well to everybody, every single being, no matter who, no matter what. He's not judgmental. He's not making us crawl through certain hoops. It's just a question: are we interested, and then do we want to make further contact with Krishna? That's what the practice of sadhana bhakti is about, having ways to be able to connect with Krishna. to be able to have some beginning experience of Krishna. So too often we take these things, the chanting and all the various other processes that we have, as prerequisites, right, for Krishna's care and attention. And instead, it's really the only holdup is that we're not very interested. We're not very much into. So it's not that we have to prove ourselves and become pure and holy and extraordinary. We just have to be more open to Krishna. We have to soften the heart. In the second chapter of the second canto of the Bhagavatam, it says that our hearts are like iron, solid iron, and that's the big thing that's holding us back. We've gone through so many traumas in so many lifetimes that we carry with us, and that keeps our heart hard. And that's our obstacle. We're used to having to prove ourselves and be more than we are, and do all kind of things. But it says when we can receive the Krishna's love in some level and begin to have more confidence of him and his love, everything changes. It says bhakti transforms us. It's not that we have to become transformed to be worthy of Krishna, but it says that bhakti is the metaphoric image that they have is that bhakti is like a seed planted in the heart. That's what's given. It says and bhakti is a vine, and it's planted in a heart that's hard and not very pure. And when it sprouts, it has two leaves. Like you have, there's in botany you have dicotyledonous plants where there's two immature leaves that sprout from a seed, and then the grass has one monocotyledon. So bhakti has two leaves, two little immature leaves that sprout, and one of them, just by the power of this love, begins to transform us. It's magical. And so many negative things begin to be drained away, and so many positive things are attracted. Our character changes, our nature changes. And it's by the power of that. It's really by the power of Krishna's love that's happening. Mm-hmm. I mean, our main practice, we chant Krishna's name, the Hare Krishna mantra, which is Krishna being present in a tangible form for us. And so by just exposing ourselves to that vibration and having some interest, so many things in a very, very deep level begin to transform. And so then you see that the character changes, that the personality changes, that our vision changes. But that's a byproduct. So it starts with interest. That this is a really cool concept. Let me try, see if Krishna, let me look around and see if Krishna is there. Let me try somehow. And so too often we have this notion that we have to become something special for Krishna, but we're already special to Krishna. The inhibition is on our side. We're just not interested. And so we begin to think that Krishna's love is conditional. I have to become pure. I have to become holy. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to do that. But if I can open myself, my heart a little, just a little, and to let Krishna begin to come in, then all these things begin to happen so much easier. We do become transformed. We do begin to come alive, to really actually come alive. That's what happens. Srila Prabhupada talks about, the bhakti becoming is enlivening. Right now we're just we're in a kind of somnambulistic state where we're in a trance. It's kind of moving around because the joy just isn't there. We're only partially alive. But there's a little bit of Krishna's love. Anything that has love grows and flourishes. And we can do it too. And there's no prerequisite. It says it's a hoitiki, without cause. which means it's not transactional. It's just who Krishna is. Krishna's love is gratuitous. It's just who he is. And he's eternal, so he's patient with us. He doesn't care good or bad. Just what is our interest? And if we have some interest that can open our hearts even a little, so many things can change. But most of the time now we have real issues with our self-esteem. This is one of the things that hurts us. We either feel that we're not worthy of love or we're worthy of a lot better treatment than we're getting. Right? There's the pride and low self-esteem problem. Two sides of the same coin. And so we may not want to receive Krishna's love. We think, I'm better than that. I need to earn it. I want to be special in order to get it. Or we may feel, I'm not worthy. I have to become worthy. But Krishna's love and concern for us is not transactional. It's causeless. It's gratuitous. We have it, whether we want it or not. We have it. He won't bother us if we don't want him, but he's there and he's still loving us. And so we're worthy. In one sense, we have to be worthy because Krishna thinks we are. At the same time, the gift is so precious that we could never be worthy. Right? So this paradox gets rid of both the pride and the low self-esteem. Krishna feels the same for us. Our love is priceless. He feels the same way. So this love is more precious than anything. And so if we can have some confidence that we really have it, even if we just have a little hint that maybe that could be so, we can open our heart a little bit. We can chant Hare Krishna. We can find ways to connect with Krishna and see if you don't feel something, right? So many times when we're trying to become holy, increase our service, increase our sadhana, do these various things, come up to certain standards of behavior. And we do that without the understanding of the love, that begins to harden our heart again, because now it's our endeavor and we're trying to become good enough for Krishna, which is not possible. So it's by the softened heart that so many transformations take place, that bhakti grows, the plant grows, the creeper grows. So we bring sometimes too many conventional concepts to this beautiful situation. And I think it causes us a lot of stagnation and trouble. Unnecessarily. But in one sense, it's so simple. Prabhupada was sometimes said, right, that bhakti is simple for the simple and complicated for the complicated. And for most of us, we're complicated. We're complicated. We can't just accept that simple thing. And therefore, we complicate our attempts to connect with him. If we're more in the mood of a receiver than an achiever, then it opens us to that connection with Krishna, to that life-giving, life-creating energy of his love that will make us come alive. We're just kind of in a slumber right now, a deep slumber. But the whole idea is that we can spend eternity receiving greater and greater love from Krishna and all of his devotees, and loving Krishna and all of his devotees. Just this symphony of love, of this kind of love that makes you just radiate. This prema is called. And Krishna, he goes through this. We'll talk more about this. He goes through this whole process where he can be a true individual, even though he's everywhere, all pervading, and can be conscious of everything. He can also be individual, and he even forgets his position just so he would draw into love. He sees us as equals. Right? To have real love, you also have to be kind of on the same platform. So there's a whole situation where he finds ways to maximize this love, and we're invited to that party. So anyway, we're getting. I think that might be enough for today. I can have comments or questions or complaints, and then we'll, and yeah, we got some 15 minutes or so. So any comments, questions, or complaints? Please feel free to unmute yourself and do it, or put up your hand, whatever you want to do.
Dandavats, Giri Govardhan. Can you
I
hear
was,
me?
I was just starting to fear that I'd put everyone to sleep. So, I put everyone to sleep. Hare Krishna, Bhakti Madhava Prabhu.
Dandavats. So, yeah, so I feel like you're reconceptualizing for us. You've thought about this and you're helping us to get out of our ambivalence that Krishna actually, he's more, it's often said Krishna is more interested in us coming to him than we are.
Yeah,
And
that's a fact.
and he reciprocates like 100 steps to our one or something. So
That shows
he's
his
eager for
eagerness.
us
That shows
to
his
connect.
eagerness, right?
Yeah, right. But it was interesting. I was so should we be practicing our sadhana for a spiritual experience? Do you think we should be consciously endeavoring? But you're saying it's more about reception than receiving
Yeah,
than achieving,
I
right?
think that's we're going to talk about that in the next sessions. But yeah, I really think
Okay.
that's the first thing. Is that there? Here's the concept, right? That Krishna has unconditional love for us and
Right.
has always had it, and he's fully available to us, and what we're just not paying attention. We're kind of blocking him out,
Right.
and so the spiritual
Right.
practices that we have are ways now of proving ourselves to Krishna or showing how much because we don't really want him so much right now. And just the fact of it is we don't so much, and so it's not a question of being more.
It's called the mode of ignorance.
Yeah, basically, it is. Yeah, it really is, and and so it's a question of these are ways that we can open our defenses to Krishna. We built us this wall, of just ignorance around ourselves. We're basically just captivated by this. So, it's like we do it, this way to ourselves. We put ourselves inside our little phones and, are oblivious to the rest of the world. So we've done that. We've focused on the things around us and we've forgotten Krishna. And so the Hare Krishna mantra and other types of seva and things are ways that we can open our eyes and look around and
Right.
open
We
and
should be
begin to
active.
feel Krishna's presence,
Right.
feel there's something there that we didn't know. And we know
Right.
intellectually that that's his love, you know? And so I really think
So,
that part of it is just that kind of helping us to have greater faith that this is real, you know?
well, chanting for a purpose, eh, not just chanting just to follow the regulation,
Yeah,
you know, Niyama-
yeah,
Magraha or anyway.
yeah,
I was thinking Kirtan Ras. Prabhupada said he spread the Krishna consciousness movement with Kirtan and Prasadam.
yeah. And so,
And for
yeah,
me, the most joyful experience I have around the association of devotees when there's festivals where there's a lot of chanting, dancing, and prasadam, and that, like these 24-hour kirtans, so people who get into kirtans. So this congregational chanting, I've always appreciated this. Everyone brings their devotion to the meeting. So the bigger the kirtan, the more devotion. And you can feel it, and especially if there's someone qualified leading the chanting, not necessarily a musician or anything, but someone who's actually who's made some progress. And so everybody benefits from that. But so when was his name, Madhava, he goes around, he's done world tours, and then he's leading the same tune. It's got a high and a low part, but basically the same tune for hours. And he's just in between the chant response, he's going with your heart, he wants, because you can kind of be passive even in a kirtan, which is, mind-boggling, that you've come to participate in a kirtan and you're passive. You're not giving yourself to the kirtan, right?
Yeah. So
Does that make sense?
we have to bring whatever. I mean, I guess bhakti has that definition.
Mhm.
That it's the action that we perform, and it's also the feeling with which we perform it, the anukulyena.
Right,
And so we
right,
have to bring whatever it is that we have, whether it's just interest or whether we have some really, we begin to have some affection for Krishna. We need to bring that. It's not
right,
just the activity.
right,
And then the other thing that happens
right.
is sometimes when we feel Krishna's presence through that activity, then we treat it more like it's a drug. Now I feel happiness and I want to hang on to that happiness, right? Because we're kind of used to it, but actually what we're feeling is a little bit of Krishna's love there and how it's
Mm.
awakening us. And so if we realize what that is,
Jamuna, yeah, Jamuna called it Krishna magic.
yeah,
Things would happen.
yeah,
They just try, they
yeah,
try and they try, and
yeah.
then something happens,
We
and
let
it's not
Krishna in.
all,
We open our
yeah.
defenses and let him in, and so many things happen. But then we kind of closed up and said, "Oh, now I'm happy now." When's the next kirtan? This was so blissful. That
Or
was
you
so
get nervous, like how, what's going to happen when I go home tonight? I'm going to
yeah,
forget all
exactly.
of this.
So we try to hang on to that bliss, and but it's if that the
Right,
bliss is a sign of Krishna's love and the connection,
right.
right? So
It's a celebration.
it's a
Yeah,
celebration. Yeah,
yeah.
and so slowly the heart gets well. So Chandra Krishna Prabhu, I see you got your hand up, Lunch. Why don't you uh,
Hare
say
Krishna,
whatever you
Guru
want to
Govardhan
say?
Prabhu, and all the Vaishnavas. Nice to see you back. I know we've attended some of your classes in the past, and it's been great. So happy to see you conduct another one, even though it's only 4 sessions. But thank you. So as you're saying, softening of the heart is one of the most important things that we as devotees must cultivate in order to allow Krishna's love to radiate, from within and without. And so our hearts have become hardened over the lifetimes of material conditioning. What is the one, I mean, there may be many, but what's a quality that we must inculcate in order to allow that softening of the heart? Because
Well,
that's
yeah,
key.
of course, a huge one is some gratitude towards Krishna. But even just begin, I think we just can begin and just open ourselves to Krishna a little bit. And when we feel His presence, and when we think this is Krishna's love, I think immediately that makes us feel humbled and grateful. But we just at first this love may kind of bounce off the radiant, bounce off the hard heart, but we just try to let it keep coming in there. And if we really think that we're making some little contact with Krishna, he's there, we can feel his presence from time to time, then we will appreciate that. We'll become softer. Krishna's love will soften it. It's like the high temperature will make the iron begin to get softer and eventually begin to melt. So I think if we just really start in that way, that we're making some contact with Krishna, and that Krishna really really cares for us deeply, and that our sadhana is allowing some contact, then and we appreciate that, I think that will get us in the right mood, and and so much will happen just by the presence of Krishna's love. And then of course it'll start to awaken our appreciation. We'll come alive. We won't be so dull anymore. So I think things really happen in some ways very naturally. I think it's really natural. So first of all, we really have to begin to try to find ways to connect with Krishna. So whether it's whatever works for you, whether it's kirtan, whether it's japa, association with devotees, different types of seva, hearing, reading, whatever the thing that allows you to feel connected. And realize that we've opened a little tiny pinhole that's letting some of Krishna's love come shining through. That's what we're feeling. And it's there whether the pinhole is open or not. I really think that begins to do something to us.
Hi, I'm Samir. I'd like to ask something. I'm new here.
Yes.
Hi, namaskar.
Nice to see you, Samir.
Nice to see you. So, my question is, I've been listening to Bhagavad Gita and the commentary around it last couple of years, and found, I think a lot of personal growth with it. But if you believe in the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, how important is it really that you also believe in Krishna? Maybe you don't believe. Maybe you don't believe that something named Krishna even exists, but you find the teachings very helpful.
You're allowed to take whatever you want to from it. That's free. I mean, it's spoken by Krishna supposedly and
Yes.
about him. I mean, he speaks about himself quite a bit, and so I mean, but that's up to you. That's up to you. So you can take from what you want from it, but the Gita encourages you.
But how do you begin to do? See, the things that the teachings that come from it are things that you can relate to in your life today. But how do you even begin to, or like you said, open yourself up to have that belief and have a connection with Krishna? I mean,
and for us, it's we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Krishna's name. Also, I mean, you hear about Krishna in the Gita. The middle 6 chapters are about bhakti, are about devotion. Are really heavily there. And so, he describes himself. He describes what his devotees are like. He says, you can offer me a fruit, a flower, a bit of water, or a leaf, and I'll accept it with some devotion. So he gives different things there. He gives a lot of little clues there so we can hear about him and learn about him. He says he's the source of everything. He has the 10th chapter where he describes certain of his vibhutis, his opulences. He says, I'm the life that all that lives. I'm the light of the sun and the moon. So we can begin to see how these things are coming from Krishna. So and you don't have to believe it first. You can just say, Krishna's saying I'm here. People are saying I'm here. Let me try it.
Right.
You don't have to have faith first. You just have to have interest or curiosity.
Yes.
You can have just curiosity as a starting point.
Of course, that's why I'm here.
yeah. So you can just do that.
Yeah.
And so Krishna doesn't have a problem. It's like, I have to have full faith in Krishna. We don't know him yet.
Right,
So you can have just a little curiosity and say, let me try.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
And then see what happens. And so for a lot of people that we did, most of us did the same thing. We tried and said, darn, something's happening.
Right,
I'm surprised. We were surprised by what happened.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, a very good friend of mine, I mean, who actually guided me towards Bhagavad Gita. And then he does, he wakes up every morning at 3:30 and basically does chanting for an hour. So I'm get influence from some of the things that he says as well, who I'm very close to.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm like you said, I'm here and to see where this leads to.
So to me, it's very important that we're authentic.
Right.
So like you said, this is what you're thinking.
Yes.
This is you're relating to certain other stuff. You're not so sure you believe in the Krishna. That's beautiful. Right. You need to be honest with yourself and honest with Krishna.
Yes.
Krishna, maybe I'm not sure you're even here. But and that's fine. Better than trying to pretend that you do. It's really important because Krishna wants real connection. So if we have real doubts, he wants to know that. He's happy with that. He says, yeah, I know.
Right.
So yeah, he wants real connection. So authenticity is so huge. So yeah. So I'm happy that you said like that. Hey, I see there's practical things. So I'm not sure about this Krishna guy. That's good. You need to be
Right.
real. We need to be real here.
Yeah. And it's funny coming from me, because when I was a kid, back in India, I actually a couple of times even acted as Krishna on on the Janmashtami when I was, I think, 7, 8 years old. They dressed me up as Krishna and made me Krishna on a Janmashtami. So it's really funny coming from me. But
Maybe he
like you said,
remembers that and says it's time to pay you another visit.
Yeah.
Now that you're all grown up.
Yeah. Thank you.
Gary, I just had a comment, and thank you for holding a space for us. I find it, the most special time for me is in the morning, and when I do my meditation and so forth. And there are days when I don't feel like doing it. I just want to throw what I call my spiritual 2-year-old tantrum. It's like, yeah, you know. And I find sometimes, to connect with Krishna consciousness, it's okay to say, show me, or just reach out from your heart and say, show me if whatever struggles or challenges you're facing in your life. It's just show me how to do this, show me this, or send me guidance. And sure enough, my situation with my son in Los Angeles and all that stuff. And sure enough, the people have come. It took a while for them to come, but the people have come into place to help them out. But yeah, I think when people are struggling to understand, it's okay. Someone told me, another spiritual mentor said, reach out to God and just like a little child would to a big brother and say, show me how to do this. I don't know how to do it.
That's a good way to open the screen, right? To open up to him, to ask. Yeah, that's a good way. That kind of, it's a kind of prayer. You have to say, look, help me, show me. That's a good way to open up. It is. Excellent.
I just wanted to express my appreciation for this wonderful topic. This is great.
So, well, we'll see. Then we got 3 more to go. We'll see where it leads, but yeah, this is something I'm interested in, because I'm in some ways I'm trying to reboot, my spiritual life. This is part of my trying to reboot my spiritual journey, because I think I got sidetracked with other kind of concepts that weren't helpful. And so I'm trying to do that I'm trying to help myself. And if I can give you guys some encouragement, maybe you can then come back and help me when it works better for you. Yeah, well, you said earlier, good. Here's how you do it. So anyway, yeah. So anyway, I mean, to me, it's when I look back and kind of look at it in the broad terms, like, it's just so exciting. It's such a wonderful vision. So, and I think it's real. So, all right. Well, if there's anything else, I think we're getting a little bit past our.
Yeah, I just one last thing. Go ahead.
I just had a quick question, Gary. Sorry. Are you using the same Zoom link every Saturday evening?
Yes, that's the same one. Yeah, the one you have there that you did today will work every time.
Okay, I just want to forward it to another devotee who doesn't use WhatsApp or whatever. They use email, so I'm sure he'd be interested.
Okay.
And this is the same Zoom link you use for the 11 o'clock.
No, this is different one from our little bhakti group. This is a different one.
Okay, got it. Just want to make sure.
But if you look in your WhatsApp, under me, you'll find this one at the bottom, and then the one for Saturday mornings,
Okay.
right above it.
Sounds like a plan.
Is this Zoom only, or are you also live? If there are people who are...
No, I'm here in my little office, my little dungeon office here at the temple.
Got it.
No live audience, no live studio audience.
Okay.
Just me. All right. Well, it was really good to see all of you today, and we'll be back next week in the same Zoom Zoom place, virtual place, and
Thanks,
yeah.
thanks a lot for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
yeah. Oh, it's good to see you, Chaitanya Leela Prabhu. So
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much,
Hare
Gary.
Krishna.
Good seeing you, dear devotee. Hare Krishna.
Mary, for doing
Prabhupada.
See you next
space.
time, Hare Krishna.
Bye, everyone.
Haribo.
Haribo.
How you live?